Now, this is podcast racing.
Ooh. Idea for a podcast. Podcast racing.
Now, this is podcast racing.
Where we don't talk about racing.
We talk about podcasts. Or we just talk about racing podcasts. We're not talking about podcasts. We're talking about podcasts about racing. Podcast racing.
I like it. It's the kind of inception the world needs.
Yep. Very meta. So,
man.
a lot happened this weekend.
Yeah, it's
game-wise and player.
Yeah, headline week. Like, I put it in the title too. Like, AP got signed. Return of AP. The Derrick Henry injury.
Yeah, that was a big one. The Bucks losing on a Tom Brady pick six.
Yeah.
That was a pretty wild one. There's a lot of them.
Yeah, James went down. The entire receiving core for the Giants went down, and they still almost beat the Chiefs.
Yep. And the Vikings still couldn't win even with second quarterback because they're terrible.
I be a bit fair, like they still had to go against their very good defense with a very good secondary, and Rush has really good weapons to lean on.
Yeah, but they're still terrible. It's on paper. They should have handily won that game, but of course they were going to because it's the Vikings.
Yeah, it was painful. I thought like, hey, no Dak, like
I wasn't confident.
Definitely be in your favor. But yeah. Not gonna lie, the first half of the Niners game got me worried.
Understandable.
I will say, like, in the first half, I was seeing a lot of things on the sideline that I wasn't seeing like the previous every single week. Like just the rest of the season, haven't seen Jimmy G talking to the wide receivers the way he was. I saw a clip of 2019 when they got the Super Bowl, and he was talking to the receivers the whole time, like going through like the routes, like little things that he wanted them to do. And he was doing that again, and like he pulled all the receivers together. They all had to talk.
That's
and it's like, second half they pull it together. So I'm like, I'm
being
glad
a leader.
he stepped up. Yeah, but he stepped up again as a leader.
Let's see. Man, so should we go down the scores, or should we go down the trades or the injuries? There's just so much this week.
There is. There's so much. I wrote up some stuff even, like,
because there was just so much.
There was, and like the big one is fantasy support, which is Derrick Henry owners who are going to need it.
And that one, I don't know. That one's tough because it's like
6 weeks.
Well, not only that, it's like, so AP's 36. And well, yeah, at a time he was a great player. Can he still be the dominating factor even if the offense is still built for him to be that? Or is the better option to go for their backup? The guy who's backing him up, I can't remember his name. Because they had two guys. One of them also got hurt that night, so it's left what's his name?
Jeremy, yeah, I had it right. Jeremy McNichols.
Yeah.
That is their backup.
Yeah, because then like Evans also went on IR. So I mean, that was a tough call. Honestly, I understand why people would go for AP, and like it's at this point, why not?
I mean, given if he's at least somewhat what he was, like he fits the offense. It's a one cut and run.
Yeah,
and you power through from that one cut.
It's keep flickering. Damn ghosts. Well, I mean, yeah, that one's kind of hard too because it's like, let's see, they play. Ooh, that's tough. That's gonna be a tough sledding for them. Like, so even if you bring AP in, Well, that's going to be hard. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, so let's not talk about the games too much. But
I mean, to me at this point, it's like you might as well try and pick up. Like people are on the revolving door of like James Conner and Chase Edmonds. I see them always popping in and out of waivers. Like maybe think of one of them. Hines, if he's available, or because I don't think a lot of people took him, Bob Scott for the Eagles, just to get you by a little bit.
Yeah.
Which I know he was a big Matthew Berry guy for last week, and he did really well. He had 2 touchdowns and 60 yards.
Yeah, but that's also hard. It's like he did really well against the Lions.
Yeah.
And then not only that, also like I think Eagles are on bye next week anyway, so it's like do you pick him up just for him to sit on your bench?
Yeah. I mean, or do you do nothing also if your roster's that good and you don't have IR slots?
Yeah, like if you're hurting for running back, sure, I would say pick up AP, but also I mean that's the other hard part. There's been some pretty significant running back injuries this year, so
yeah,
I'm curious how it shakes out.
I would say the only other running back that I'd have eyes for right now would be like Jeff Wilson, because his practice window is opening up Wednesday, and Elijah Mitchell has a rib injury. They didn't disclose the extent. It sounds like it's just going to keep him limited through the week, and he'll play Sunday. But I could see Jeff Wilson work in, and Jeff Wilson is like, anytime he gets the ball, you go for a touchdown.
Yeah. But that's also kind of hard. It's like and the Niners, as it is, it's like they really feel like they've been a running back by committee the last few years, where you never know who's going to be the workhorse. It seems to change every single week. Sure. So, yeah. And I have noticed like a lot more teams have like you're rotating 2 or 3 running backs this year, so it's even harder to like. Part of that's because of injuries, so they had to like go with 2 guys. But part of it is also I think they've realized you can get by with 2 decent running backs versus 1 really great running back too.
Yeah, which I'm not the biggest fan of, not just for fantasy, but it's like that dynamic one workhorse running back is typically that's just it. They're dynamic. They can swing the game in your favor. That's why I took Henry in one of my leagues. And that was a painful spot because I already had 2 guys in my IR slots. I had Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And then someone dropped Chris Carson, so I picked up Chris Carson and put him in my second IR slot, and then Derrick Henry goes on IR.
Wait, which league was this in?
It's a different family league.
Okay, I was going to say, because I did drop Chris Carson. That's how I picked up the Buffalo defense.
Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, he was an IR sacrifice because it's one of those they're not sure when he's coming back.
Yeah, and last I read, he was gonna try to practice this week. So if he comes off IR, then it pays dividends. I don't have to drop anybody. I can move Henry to IR and keep Helaire there, and all's right.
Yeah. Let's see. What were some of the other headlines? You had Von Miller going to the Rams for a bounty of picks.
Yeah. I hate the Rams so much.
Okay, put your heated rivalry aside, though. They're in the win now phase. They're doing what the Miami Heat did. They're doing what the Bucks did the last time they won the Super Bowl under Gruden. They're just like they're going. How many teams we've seen go all in? Sometimes it pays off, sometimes it doesn't. But I think they recognized that with the core group of players they had. It was now or never.
Yeah. I mean, I understand that because they have so many players, they're going to be demanding a lot of money, a lot of salary cap. And yeah, if you don't win now, you're going to lose probably a lot of those key players.
Yeah.
Which almost guaranteed. So I understand that, but also it's like you just sacrificed your future. Because even heated rivalry aside, even from a perspective of, say, if I was even a fan, I'd be kind of upset. I mean, yeah, we didn't, in that perspective, we didn't have a lot of picks going into next year. So sure, sacrificing 1 or 2. And they made off like a bandit, I think, with the Broncos because they're paying $9 million.
Yeah. Money-wise, he's dirt cheap.
Yeah, which apparently that was part of the terms of the trade. That's why they traded the second pick for him. Was to cover the $9 million.
Well, that's fair.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, but what's going to happen after this year, or even in 2 years? Like, do you keep manipulating the salary cap, and at some point, some of your players just can say, "I am done," because technically, I'm not getting paid each season. You just keep pushing it to the next salary, like you keep pushing it to the future.
That I think really comes down to the players, because I mean, honestly, there were speculations the exact same thing would happen with the Bucks this year, because they had so many guys on 1-year deals, and it's like, how are they going to be able to bring them all back? Then a lot of the guys were like, you know what, they did the smart thing, which I'm surprised more people don't do, is like, we have a great group of people, we have proved we can pull it off, take a pay cut for another shot. So,
but I think there's a difference though, because the Bucks is primarily made up of veterans, like guys who, this is it, we're gonna win our Super Bowls, and then I'm done. A lot of the guys with the Rams are young.
Yeah,
like they still have paydays ahead of them.
Yeah, and that's one of those. I'll be curious to see how many of them are able to go. Like, you know what? Maybe delaying the payday a couple years is worth a shot at getting the Super Bowl now, because it is one of those. Also, like, you know, when you have a shot, take it. And it's, I don't know if you follow basketball. This is essentially what Miami Heat did, but that first ring they got, where they just mortgage farm. They brought in, like, who was it? Like Shaquille O'Neal, and I can't remember who else, like Chris Bosh or whatever. They brought in, like, with Dwayne Wade, they had like their big three. Yeah,
it was LeBron.
LeBron, and once that fell apart, they were screwed, because they invested a lot of draft capital and money in getting those guys, but it paid off. They won like a couple championships out of it. So I understand why a franchise would do that, especially like in the NFL, where it's so hard just to even make the Super Bowl. There are how many franchises have never even made it. On top of that, there's how many franchises that haven't made it in like 30, 40 years. I mean, hell, the Rams haven't. They've made it once, and they haven't actually won one in 2 decades.
Yeah.
So
it's true.
I get it.
I mean, I'm curious also to see how they stack up in like future matchups where the team is actually a lot better than, say, the Texans or the Lions.
Yeah.
Like, when Stafford has real pressure in his face, and there's at least one corner who can remove a guy, I'll give you, they have 2-3 other weapons they can use, but they haven't really been tested that much. Besides with Tampa Bay, I don't know, they could have just dropped the ball. I feel like they're very up and down. But I hate that a lot of people give Sean McVay so much credit when it's like he has this all-star team.
I mean, but how many other coaches have ridden that wave of like 1 or 2 great seasons, and they just rode their reputation for their whole career? But it's like, on paper, it really does seem like you look at the Rams and they seem like the most complete team currently. Because, like, really, outside of what maybe running back, where he's like their second, third string guy, but he's still a really good running back. That's really it. I guess maybe linebacker, but they might have just shorted it up with Von Miller.
Well, Von Miller's a D end, so that's more defensive line. I'm sure they're going to just
line him up. I can't remember where he's.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
Well, I think he had the title linebacker when they were in a 3-4 defense.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Technically, your D ends are outside linebackers.
Yeah, so he's like a Shaq Barrett sort of guy, like the JPP now, where it's like the 3-4 hybrid is what he is.
That's what he used to be.
I mean, it's probably still good. I don't know if they will though, but
I'd have to look it up because I don't know what defense they run anymore. I could have sworn that who's the head coach.
I don't know. I can kind of say I haven't followed Broncos very long.
I'm just very sure his defense was a 4-3, so I'm sure he converted to D end, which is just pure pass rushing.
Yeah,
and that's what they want him for.
Yeah,
but anyway, let's see if he doesn't get hurt, because he's been hurt past multiple seasons.
Yeah. That's the worst, when you invest all that money and then the guy gets hurt. You're like, oh, well, shit.
Or when you trade a guy and and release him like Jalen Smith.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I want to shame the Niners fan base for that one. I saw so much on Twitter for a good week. Like, trade for him. He's on the block. We need, linebacking help. We still had Al-Shaair and Warner. And it's like, of course they didn't trade for him.
Yeah.
But everyone was, crying when he went to the Packers, and hey, the Packers are cutting him.
Which I'm curious, is it just because he isn't that good, or he just not fit, or was it a personality thing?
Could have been any of those, because if I remember right, he's kind of a bigger body guy. He's a little more old school linebacker, and everyone's moving to this like new age,
the smaller.
Yeah, the Fred Warner. Even we have Harris. He's a converted safety.
And it's more and more linebackers having to go into coverage, then go from side to side, but they also have to be able to get up down the line. They have to do it all now. They just linebackers move all over the place.
They got to be a lot more athletic.
Yeah. Let's see. Another big headline, although is Henry Ruggs. That could be bad. Yeah.
Football wise, that takes away their deep threat. I think, if I remember right. Yeah, use the big deep threat there.
Yeah.
And I mean, the way that at least the tweet I saw went, it sounds very cut and dry.
Yeah.
He's not going to play. Like,
no.
If he ever, he might just straight up go to jail.
I mean, honestly, if with how obvious it seemed, if he doesn't get jail time, that's the kind of controversy the NFL does not want.
Yep. Oh, man. It's horrible.
Is he even playing? Oh.
Jankowski?
Yeah, who's he with? Oh, yeah, I didn't realize he's with the... No, he's still with the Seahawks, right? Oh, he retired. That's what it is.
Okay, I was saying.
Yeah, I didn't think he was still playing. Good old Janikowski. Yeah, but I'm actually surprised that there weren't any other major trades. Like, there were a few young running backs I was expecting it traded. I'm not surprised that Watson didn't get moved, though.
I'm not either. They're asking for a lot, and there's no guarantee that he plays.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm sure that the only way that deal could be struck is like, okay, we'll give you that first round. We'll take him. But if, number one, he doesn't pass physical, and number two, if he's found guilty and he's not allowed to play, we get that back. And
like some sort of conditional deal, because that one made sense to me. But it's like I was expecting more movement just with how many injuries we've seen, how many teams are in need. It was kind of surprising.
I was expecting at least Mac to get traded. Yeah. I picked him up last week and just kind of stashed him, like, just to see.
I did that a few weeks ago, but then I dropped him for Hilton, who has played like a quarter.
He got hurt again.
Yeah.
I think it was a quad or calf injury. Soft tissue.
Was that, or was it a concussion? Or was it a concussion and then a quad, or vice versa? I don't remember.
Everything. He's just broken.
I was surprised that Deshaun Jackson got cut, though.
Well, he asked for a trade.
But it's kind of a dick move to cut him after the trade deadline. Seems like.
I mean, well, if it's like we didn't find a suitor, so either we keep you, and we're going to put you at fourth on the depth chart, so you barely get time behind Van Jefferson, or we could cut you. You go wherever you want. So.
Yeah, it's still just one of those. You would have thought they could have found something for him, because they're so like. You can't tell me there's not a team that would have like, yeah, we'll take him as a wide receiver 2 or 3, sure.
Yeah. Oh, like in the slot, of course, he's dangerous. He's even a wide receiver 3, and then also a return guy. Like,
yeah,
he split him with Van Jefferson, which I think was what they were doing, but Jefferson was getting more playtime, so he was over it.
I'm sure we'll see him somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, so I guess those are the headlines.
Yeah, we can ease into last week and then
lead on, good sir. Lead on.
We'll start with Thursday night. Packers Cardinals.
It was a matter of time before the Cardinals lost.
Oh, completely.
It really was.
And I feel like they showed the Achilles on offense and a little bit on defense. Like, the defense played really well, but they just got wore down because they don't have a run game. It's just non-existent. They can chunk yard you here and there, but they don't devote to it. Let's see. Chase Edmonds with 7 carries, James Conner with 5.
Yeah, which, like, but also it's one of those. I mean, Thursday night games. Those those tend to be where you see great teams slip up, anyways, just because you usually on a short week. And yeah, it's just. It seemed like just a perfect storm for them to fall.
But I mean, and like, to reverse it, the Packers ran, let's see, 32 times.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they like
Dylan Jones.
I think that's the most rushing yards the Cardinals gave up this year. I feel like they were saying it was a pretty significant.
And I mean, that's kind of the key to beat one of these teams, though, too, is you keep the offense, keep that Kyler Murray off field, run the ball, commit to running the ball. And it's the same way you beat the Packers. You got to run the ball, especially after they lost Hopkins in the first quarter.
Yeah. Although, like, so he got hurt, but then he actually came back in towards the end, but then I think he was gone again.
Like 2 plays.
Yeah.
He had a quad injury, I want to say.
Yeah.
Which I mean, after that, like, so AJ Green had 5 receptions, 50 yards. DeAndre Hopkins 2 for 66.
Yeah.
So I think 1 was for over 50.
Was it Kirk and Ertz had 4?
Yep. But it's like this offense completely relies on Hopkins, or at least someone being that vertical threat, because it's a what do they call it? An air, the air assault, the air attack offense.
Yeah. Well, like they rely on someone drawing attention to if they're open with the other guys, or when other guys are getting targeted, then they're like, okay, well, this guy's gonna get the ball, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you lose your Hopkins, who demands double coverage.
Though I think the interesting is, like, after week 1, that ugly loss, the Packers have won 7 in a row?
Yep.
and they haven't just been squeakers. Like, there's been some dominating wins. Granted, it's haven't like world beaters, but still, it's like I think that's what's interesting. Is like, really, it's even though you have teams that have like 1 or 2 losses, none of them have really felt like, oh yeah, they're gonna run away with it. They're clearly the favorite. Like, everyone, either as soon as you think, yeah, these guys are favorites, they end up either losing or looking real bad in a game, or they get a big injury, and it's just every week. It feels like there's a lot closer between the 1-2 loss teams and the 3 and 4 loss teams than normally at this point of the season.
Yeah, which, I mean, so they beat the Niners by 2, that last minute field goal. So that was close, and honestly closer than it probably should have been, just how both teams were kind of playing. Steelers, which they've been off, close one against the Bengals. Apparently the Bears game was pretty close, and they just kind of closed it out. The Washington one was close until halftime. And then there's this one, which was close too. Like, I feel like the Packers they do just enough to win.
Yeah.
Kind of how I've been feeling about them this season.
Yeah. Well, it's like, so I'm just looking at, okay, so the NFC, you have, like, let's say if the playoffs right now, you'd have Dallas, Green Bay, Tampa, Arizona winning the division, followed by Saints, Rams, Panthers. And it really is one of those, like, I could see any of those teams beating any other teams. Like, even the Panthers, well, yeah, they're 4-4. They're also one of those teams that's like, oh, yeah, they're going to do great. And then they get blown up. Then when you're like, oh, well, they're going to get blown up, they're surprisingly competitive.
Yep.
And that's sort of like, even though you have like 4 one-loss teams in there, I'm still not confident to say like, oh yeah, they would clearly are the better team than the other half. That's what I think.
Your favorites.
Yeah. Which I mean, it's almost even worse in the AFC. You have, let's see, Buffalo, Ravens, Titans, Raiders, and then you'd be followed by Bengals, Steelers, Chargers.
I wander to and fro.
That one seems even a lot more close, especially after the Henry injury. It's like, I mean, I guess I'd pick the Bills as the favorites. I don't know.
I mean, also, are we at a point where, like, there's almost been a little bit of power shift between NFC and AFC too?
It feels like it should be, but I don't know. Like, I really...
Because, I mean, I do remember, like, at some point, it was like, it doesn't matter these top 3 teams from the AFC. If they end up in the Super Bowl, they're going to beat whoever from the NFC. You know, you had your, at least, like, New England years, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was like, it didn't matter who from the NFC played them, they'd probably win.
Yeah, but it's like, let's see. So, like, well, if we just take the top teams from every division as it stands, so Bills haven't even beaten and played an NFC team. Raiders have beaten the Lions. No, the Ravens have beaten the Lions. But they also have that ugly loss to the Bengals and they lost to the Raiders. Like, the Titans have beaten, like, you know, the Seahawks and they lost to the Cardinals. Like, not just lost, they got walloped by the Cardinals. And then the Raiders had an ugly loss to the Bears. But then even if you go, okay, let's go over to the NFC. So the Cowboys lost to the Bucks, but they've beaten everyone else. But the only NFC team is they beat the Patriots and the Chargers. Which, okay. Packers had the ugly loss to the Saints, but then they beat the Steelers and Bengals. And then the Cardinals win. Tampa, I mean, lost to the Saints and the Rams, but looks like they can beat anyone else. But Patriots and Dolphins aren't exactly world beaters.
Yep.
But then the Cardinals, they had that great win against the Titans to open the season. So it's like, okay. Up until last night, they seemed like, oh, okay, it's the Cardinals and everyone else.
Yep. And I mean, to me, it was matter time before at least one key injury, and they had 2.
Yeah.
Kind of doing it. Because they were without J.J. Watt and they were without Hopkins. So it's like, yeah, they're back to relying on Kyler Scramble.
Yeah, but that's what it is. It's like, even all the top teams have some either big injuries or just have not been playing as well as they should. Like, I still don't know why Buffalo has struggled in some of their games recently. Same thing with, like, the Bucks have, like, wounded secondary, but they still should be playing a lot better. They haven't been getting pressure. Like, that was the thing. Their secondary was great because they were getting pressure on just a 4-man rush, and they haven't been able to do that. So now not only is their secondary hurt, but it's even more apparent that their secondary is hurt.
Yep.
Why?
We should keep moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a tangent. We just need Kima here to keep us on track. Where is he? Especially because this is the one time he could be finally talk trash back to me as a Vikings fan. Even though I'd talk just as much trash about the Vikings, and he's just not here.
I think he's on a different podcast tonight.
Panthers, Falcons. That was...
Let's see. I mean, Sam Darnold came out. And the Panthers just seem to rely on the running game.
Yeah.
Hubbard went off. Which sounds like they're going to get McCaffrey back. So,
I'm curious though. Do they try playing him, or do they like, okay, let's make sure he's healthy because this is the second time they've lost him this week. Ooh, that's tough because they have Patriots and Cardinals on deck.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, Titans Colts. That was a real costly win.
Oh yeah, yeah. Basically, as long as the defense catches the gimmies from Wentz, you're gonna win.
Yeah, I think that next week's going to really be telling for the Titans though, because if they can beat the Rams on the road without Hendry, that's a pretty good sign.
Oh yeah.
But if they can't, they may just be. Best case scenario is they get a wild card. I think at that point.
Yeah. At that point, you're fighting for a wild card.
Let's see. Dolphins, Bills.
Yep. I expected the Bills to win. I think I even benched Tua in one league.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't see it.
Though I will say the Dolphins kept it close for quite a while. Yeah. Like the fact that it really came down to the fourth quarter is pretty surprising.
Yeah, and I mean, I played Josh Allen in another one, and yeah, he was kept in check for most of the game, I felt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like he did 8 carries for 55, 20 passes for 249, 2 TDs. Like, not. It's a solid stat line, but not blowing what he's been putting up. But what really surprised me was the run game, like how they shut down both Singletary and Moss. I was expecting at least one of them to run over him. Yeah, it's kind of a bad sign when both your running backs don't even equal your quarterback in rushing yards.
Yeah,
especially when they're not backups. They are your 2 main running backs.
That's your committee you go with.
I will say this is probably the most surprising result.
It was kind of the best. Yeah, honestly. Happy as I am that the Bengals are winning again, because they've worked for this. The Jets upset them. They've earned this. Yeah, they've earned this.
Yeah, that was still I think it's going to be really interesting to see if they still try to move back to Zach Wilson when he comes back from injury.
Yeah, that's a hard one to do because 405 yards, 3 TDs. He had 2 interceptions, but you still kept him in.
Well, and especially because this is arguably one of the best teams they've played.
Yeah.
Although that's what's funny about the Jets is their 2 wins have come against the 2 strongest teams on their schedule.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. They're both home games. But still.
Yeah. But, I mean, that's also what you kind of expect from a rookie coach. He's going to show you flashes, and for some reason he's showing flashes against the most difficult opponents.
Yeah, that's what's weird about it, is who he's showing flashes against.
Yeah.
It's not getting, shut out by the Broncos. It's beating the Titans. Yeah,
still cool.
Yeah. No, I was all for it. It's I mean, props to him if he can do it again next week, because I'm curious to see if it's actually just one of those flash in the pan lucky games, or if they can actually pull it off again, and they're actually things are clicking.
Yeah, especially under White, because then that would mean Zach Wilson probably just gonna sit there, look pretty for the rest of the season.
I mean, I think that'd be hilarious, because I still remember telling Tyra, I wouldn't be so high on Zach Wilson, man. I don't know.
And then at that point, what's the decision? Do you ride with White and Flacco and trade him for a third or something?
That's actually one of those hard things. Okay,
hold on.
So let's say Wilson can't cut it, so you go with White. But that now just makes Wilson that much harder to offload. Because everyone's like, oh, if he's not good enough to beat out Flacco or this other guy, do we really want him? I'm sure you can find some coaches like, yeah, we'll try to develop him because he's a young kid, still new, but that's still, if he doesn't play, that makes it really hard to trade.
Yeah, and I mean, at that point, do you play him and hope he shows up a little bit so you can get some trade value, or
maybe
he's just worth holding on to? But either way, like, it's still funny. He's kind of in the hot seat.
Yep. Which, I mean, couldn't have happened to a more deserving kid. Him and his family were getting pretty mouthy. Let's see. Steelers, Browns. I mean, that's kind of what I was expecting.
Yeah, it was as close as I would expect it. And it looks like just the running game struggled a little.
Yeah.
For the Browns, but not a whole lot. They still ran for at least 83 yards combined between Chubb and Johnson.
You did see that super petty video OBJ's dad shared where it's like, here's all the times OBJ was open. It's like, well, yeah, but you guys they're a run first team, man. What do you expect?
It's not an aerial attack.
Yeah. This isn't the Falcons or the Chiefs. This is the Browns.
Or the Giants, where you came from, where it was a throw first.
Yep, exactly.
And then your running game was really the checkdowns.
Yeah. It's honestly, there was part of me wondering if OBJ would get traded just because all that stuff. Yeah, I would have been fine with that.
But he's been a good teammate there. Like, he's been meshing well with Mayfield and Landry, so it's like,
they don't want to shake it up too much.
Makes sense.
I think it's telling that the Eagles blew up the Lions with Hurts only throwing for 103 yards on 9 passes.
14 attempts.
Yeah. Which, when you rush for 236, you don't have to pass, but still, I think that's...
Yeah, because he still got me a fair amount of points just on 71 yards on the ground.
Yeah. But it's still one of those, like, it's very telling that if you can get your passing game going against the Lions in a blowout,
you don't have one.
Yeah. Like, honestly, I'm probably going to drop Devontae Smith because it's just...
I've been on the bubble about that.
I started him because I was like, okay, if this is his game, if this is his chance to do it, if he does do it here, he's not going to do it. And yeah, especially when I had Boyd finally getting like 19 points on my bench and then Keenan Allen get a touchdown. I was like, freaking Smith.
What is the meaning of life?
Yeah. It's point. I'm there too with him because he's shown flashes too where he'll get open or he'll compete for the ball, he'll make that catch, but they don't give Hurts enough time to make that throw.
Yeah,
all the routes take a little extra longer for him to, I feel like a lot of the routes they make him run are really long. They're comeback routes and stuff, and
that's actually one of those. Like, I'm wondering if they didn't try to get more pieces by trading away some of their pass catchers they're not using, because either they're like, well, we still want him to become a passer, or if they just didn't even think about it. It's like one of those, like, if you're not using those guys, why not just try to get like plug some of those holes? If you're going to be like, let's just be a run first, that's what we're going to be. Trade one of those guys to get someone. So that's yeah, that was kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, apparently there's a small push of like some people want Minshew to start. So it's like, all right,
I
but
don't know why.
He's going to throw to Smith and Goddard. Rieger when he gets open because he's a deep man, but
yeah,
you don't got a lot going on in the passing game there.
I think the calls for Minshew is popular by personality, not by performance.
It's because he's Uncle Rico.
Yeah. Well, I think like he was a hell of a college player. He was part of like a great pass tech in college, but that just hasn't translated in the NFL like at all. So I don't know if he's just riding that reputation or if they were just like, oh, he's just some crazy personality. Yeah. I don't know.
Probably both. In reality.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's like all the I saw a tweet the other day for the Niners, which we can get into that in a minute. But calling for Trey Lance to start. Like, even if we lose with Lance, I'd rather watch Lance lose than Garoppolo win. And it's like, no, I'd rather win.
Yeah,
everyone's complaining about not winning.
Yeah. Like, I still think, honestly, it's one of those. I understand the idea of, like, yeah, you want to get used to it, but it's also, if you're losing consistently badly with your starter, let the rookie sit and learn from that instead of throwing to the wolves. Like, trial by fires rarely pay off for rookie quarterbacks.
Yep.
Rams, Texans, that one went about, I think, how we all expected.
Yep. All 22 points in the fourth quarter for the Texans.
It's one of those, like, I didn't watch it, but I'm assuming they just pulled their starters in the fourth quarter because at that point, why not?
Let's see. What? Danny Amendola still playing? I don't even know that.
Yeah, it's one of those, you don't think about that, but every now and you see him pop up and you're like, oh yeah, he's still kicking.
Yeah, he's with the Texans. I didn't realize that.
I didn't realize he was with the Texans. Last I saw, he was with the Lions. Rex Burkhead.
Yeah, Ben Skowronek had 3 receptions for 30 yards for the Rams. And I say that name because I don't know who that is. So, yes, they went deep.
Well, at the same time, though, like, let's see, Wolford only had 2 passes.
Yep, 1 for
So
5.
it seems like they kept.
They probably, well, I'm sure Stafford's the kind of guy who probably won't come out.
Yeah.
So I'm sure Stafford stayed in. They kept the O-line in, but let the receivers, cycle out a little more.
Yeah. Then even Buddy Howell, like, I guess that's their 3rd or 4th string
Rick
RB.
Howell, yeah.
Yeah. Or honestly, with their injuries, that's their 5th string right back. Yeah. That was, I think, what we all expected from that game. But the game I'm sure you want to talk about, Niners Bears.
I even have something for it. Let me put this on. Go.
Nice.
That is the first result when you Google Yak King.
Yak King?
Yards have to catch.
Okay. What? Let's see.
Batman.
So he's. I'm assuming he's leading. Jeez, I'm just now seeing his stat line. Holy mother!
6 for 171. He has broken Jerry Rice's record within the franchise.
That's
or within the
absurd.
first 7 weeks for yards. He's like number 3 in the league now, and they're basically crediting him with like getting the offense back on track in this game.
Yeah,
because it was just a little. It was a wide receiver screen. They ran back for 83 yards.
Oh jeez.
On like a 3rd and 20.
Wow, that's. How does he stack up?
I don't know. Let's find out. Look up Don BB. Go stats.
Let's see, and also we're comparing. This is
Deebo Samuel. Spread set. So far this season, he has 819 yards, 4 touchdowns, and this is year 3. It looks like. So if we go year 3 for BB, his entire season, 414 yards. His best year came in 96 at 699 with 4 touchdowns. I will say his third year, 91, BB had 6 touchdowns the whole season. Which isn't bad. But he's stacking up very well.
Yeah. Curious how that shakes out. Like, especially because he seems like he's the guy. You have like Sanu and Ayuk, but they really just haven't seemed like they've been doing much. It seemed like
that was also a big thing too. Is Ayuk got involved? He had 4 receptions for 45, which isn't huge, but he's making catches.
Yeah, well, but also it's one of those, like, when you have a guy getting 171 yards, either hopefully that means the defense is right. Okay, we got to double team this guy, which opens up other people. I would hope.
Yeah, I mean they've been using him differently, so it's a little on them, a little on him, because they were kind of hoping he'd be able to run different routes as opposed to just a slight slant, an in, or just vertical. And that's how they used him last season. Was he just ran verticals, slants, ins, but now they're making him run curls, more complex routes, and he's not getting open on those, but he got open on his slants. He got better at pulling little moves, working himself open. So he got a 2-point conversion.
So I'm curious. I just had and Joey Sly has been kind of up and down for you guys. It's from fantasy perspective, because of like a few years ago, he was the highest scoring kicker consistently.
I mean, he missed a field goal, and the Bears kicker missed a field goal. And I think an extra point each.
Yeah, but all things considered, he's not as highly ranked as he has been in the past.
And I mean, he may not be there come next season either. Or next season, next week. Gold's practice window open, so he may come off IR.
Oh, interesting.
Something I am curious about statistically. I guess that's not bad. Hafuanga, 4 tackles, 1 assist. He got his first start.
Ooh. That was a mouthful. Let's see. Man, no. Like, props to you guys for coming back. That was, that guy.
Especially with Justin Fields getting situated, like, he had a pretty good game.
Yeah.
We'll see if he can replicate that, this next week. Starts looking very serviceable as far as fantasy goes.
That's what he's talking about. Don't let Leon showboat. Like, that's the top result. Yeah. Let's see. So, Patriots Chargers.
Yep.
That one was. Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, I expected more out of the Chargers, but when you throw for 2 interceptions,
including the pick 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's really where it spiked.
Yeah, and I mean, the Patriots defense is finding its groove again.
Yeah.
And what it came out to.
Still the Patriots. Still Belichick, coach of defense.
And that's probably one thing that bothers me too, is how much praise Mac Jones gets, but he's not asked to do a whole lot.
Yeah. he was the perfect quarterback for him. I totally understand why they went for him. We've got a lot of people questions like, no, yeah, out of all the QBs, he is a Belichick kind of guy.
The pocket passer will make the plays you need him to make for the most part.
Yeah.
But you don't have to put the game on his shoulders.
Yep. And that's that. And he might grow into another Tom Brady style where he's like, that's. So I conflict on that because I think it would be both hilarious and awful if they go right back to dominating again. Because for all the praise about how Brady's the GOAT, if all of a sudden they go right back to dominating with Mac Jones, that pretty much dispels all the talk about, oh, Belichick had to. It's like, no, clearly it's still him. He was another guy.
Yeah, it would almost solidify that, like, Belichick created Brady.
Yeah. Yep. But also, like, we don't need the Patriots dominate again. We need new blood. It's not healthy for any sport when one team just thoroughly dominates for decades.
But
disengagement.
Let's be honest, that probably won't happen until Belichick retires.
Yeah, like that's why I'm really curious to see how he does. Not this year, but in the next 2 seasons. That's what I think is going to really determine if he really can rebuild or if it's just here's a downward spiral.
Third year is going to be the most telling, just in case, because it seems like a 50-50 toss if a player has a sophomore slump now.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Let's see.
Seahawks, Jags.
I mean, yeah, the Seahawks are hurt, but it's still the Jags.
Yeah, I expected that to be closer, but also James Robinson came out, I think, in the first quarter.
I honestly didn't even follow the game because I don't know what we're doing.
I have him in fantasy, so I had eyes on it.
Let's see. Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, he started showing up. I mean, he had 4 for 22 and 1 for 17. So, yeah.
And if you think he came out in the first quarter, so it's James Robinson has been setting the tone for the offense recently.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, Carlos Hyde can't be that guy, so they fell apart.
Well, it's like, I mean, Carlos Hyde is getting old, man. He's 31. That's ancient for a running back. Yeah, I mean, I think that's what the Seahawks needed. With where they're at, they needed to play the Jags because, yeah, they've been hurting.
Oh yeah,
and it's not like they now go Packers and Cardinals. That's not exactly an easy 2-game stretch. So apparently there is a talk that Wilson will be back in the next couple of weeks because he got
saw
the
that, which would be a little early.
Yeah,
because I think he's only on week 2, isn't he?
Yeah, I understand why they would want to rush it, but it's like long-term health, guys. Yeah, that is not something to rush.
Say he wins you 4 games, but he exacerbates that injury and has to come out. He might hold you accountable for that too.
Yeah. So now here's the game that I think was the most interesting one.
Saints Bucks.
Like, especially, like, I mean, let's start. Okay, if someone told you Brady's going to go throw for 28 for 375 and 4 TDs, the Bucks are going to have, let's see, only give up 2 passing touchdowns. Would you guess they lost by a touchdown? By more than a touchdown? No.
No.
Yeah, it was just. It's interesting, like Saints defense or the Bucks Achilles heel, and the Vikings defense is Saints Achilles heel. They could be terrible teams that year, but they'll still seem to just be able to beat them. It's interesting.
And I don't know, that's what makes division games so interesting.
Yeah.
In general.
Like, it's one of those, if the Bucks are a wild card again, do they make another run? they don't seem nearly as strong as they were last year.
But at the same time, you don't totally count them out because it's like who are going to get too near bid, like Cowboys or anyone else. Like the talent's there.
Yeah, that one's definitely that's I think what's really going to be interesting is how their season shakes out. Because like right now it'd be easy to be the wild card just because there's, one or two lost teams and then a bunch of 4 or 5 lost teams. But it's also one of those like, I mean, they still have to play the Bills, they have to play the Saints again. They play the Panthers twice. So who knows? And that's the end of the season. So who knows where the Panthers will be then? So they have an interesting slate of teams.
Yeah, and I mean, like, is this going to be their last push too? Like, at this point, how many are they going to be able to keep? Especially if they don't win. Big thing if they don't win, or like even get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, well, it's like they did a lot of work to bring everyone back this year to make another run. But if they can't, that's what I think you start seeing it falling apart, because then it's going to be a lot harder. Because not only that, the guys, people are getting hurt. Guys are older. It's people are going to start retiring, going like, "Yeah, I got me my ring. Cool. I'm 37. Whatever. I'll walk away now."
You're going to have a lot of retirements. You're going to have a lot of guys who are going to leave for the paydays.
Yeah,
like your Godwin. Maybe even Evans tries to select somewhere else.
I don't see how they'll be able to keep both Godwin and Evans for much longer. Even with Brady being there, like, just those guys are both way too good. The fact that they already have a ring, it's going to be really hard to give up the kind of paydays those guys can get.
And even at that point, is Brady going to want to stay?
That's the interesting one to me. Like, I think he'll want to, just because... I mean, think about, like, if you're essentially in the twilight years of your career, why wouldn't you want to play it in, like, a place with nice weather and not deal with snow and cold and all that stuff? But then also on a team where it's like, it's very friendly to him in the sense of like, yeah, we'll do whatever you want. Just play well. You want to bring in this guy? Cool, we'll do it.
But also, like, let me throw this little dream scenario at you. Because he talked apparently in the offseason to wide receiver coach of the Niners, Welker, how he wanted to finish his career with the Niners, because he's always been a fan.
Yeah.
Grew up a fan. So dream scenario, they finally shove off Garoppolo to the Bucks. Get Brady, because Brady wants out. And we have talent. You get to sit Lance for another season while Brady, takes us basically where peak that we can be. And he gets to finish off his career where he wants to be.
I could see him going for something like that.
And to me, the only way this could even be possible is if, say, Evans and Godwin both are like, yeah, we're good. And, like, go look for cash somewhere else. They're over errands, whatever. Like, if they both don't come back, I think that hurts them. And I think especially if for some reason the O-line comes apart a little bit.
Yeah. Because that's really like, I mean, they have, Jensen locked up for a while, I feel. Because he's, actually, I don't know. I didn't realize he'd been playing for that long. Because I know they have at least one guy who I feel like was a rookie last year. I don't remember which dude. Is it Worse? No.
We turn our heads around.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, it is Worse. So Worse is the rookie, so he's not going anywhere. But you figure, let's see. And Kappa is probably not going anywhere, so... But, yeah, Jensen's been playing since 2013, so... He's getting up there for an O-line. He's 30. And he's like their anchor. He is their rock. If something happens to him. And then you figure, what are their guards? Let's see. He's their left guard is 20. 28, and then their left tackle is 28. So that's basically like your entire left side of your O-line is 28 to 30.
Trying to hit it.
Yeah, that's when you start seeing the injuries step in. That's when you start seeing them. Yeah. That'd be interesting to keep your eye on.
That's just a little dream.
Yeah. Like I'm still not confident. I have a feeling he's just gonna. Well, I don't know. It's because like he said, made the whole thing. He wants to keep playing to like 50 or whatever,
and still wind up.
But it's also one of those like as I think I saw an interesting someone point out to where we're starting to see more of the flashes of the 2018 Brady.
Yep.
The last couple of years, the Patriots were like, yeah, he was still Brady, but he was making some bad throws. He was forcing it. Like there was just something wasn't there. And it's like, well, I understand why people were saying that, like calling him out in the last couple years of Patriots. But it's like with the team he has, he really shouldn't be showing those signs right now. There is no good reason for the offense to be struggling and for him to making things like that. So
no, he seems to make the mistakes like the few times he gets pressure in his face.
Yeah.
So he's just holding under pressure. So the O-line, I think, would be a bigger.
Yeah, than even losing Evans or Godwin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, it's going to be interesting to see how the Bucks shake out because, like, he really did. That was really, really like the dream scenario for a veteran quarterback to take over, and I'm curious how long they'll be able to keep that gravy train rolling.
Yeah, especially if they get derailed this season.
Oh yeah,
put it back on the tracks. But then also their counterpart here, the Saints, like Trevor Siemian.
Yeah.
Held it together. You got Kamara, and all you have to do is put the ball in his hands. But
at the same time, it's like this is Trevor Siemian we're talking about here, and they spread the ball around.
Yeah, I just look at that's 38 yards is highest.
Well, the other interesting thing is also what's his name? Michael Thomas could be back in the next couple weeks. And they're down, Winston, but once you have Michael Thomas, who's basically throw the ball his way, he's catching it.
You get Michael Thomas, you basically get a Carolina situation where as long as Darnold had McCaffrey, that takes a lot of the weight off his shoulders.
Yeah.
You have Kamara who's doing the same thing. So you really don't need a lot from Siemian, but yeah, if you can throw it in the area code of Michael Thomas, you're fine.
Yeah. Let's see. Washington Broncos. I mean, Washington's struggled, to put it mildly, this year.
They've been up and down.
Yeah.
It looks like it begins and ends with the passing game.
I feel bad for them because they really did seem like they were ready to finally start trending in the right direction. Like things were starting to come together after the end of last season. You felt like they had momentum and then just nope. But I mean, also same thing with the Broncos. The Broncos are another team where it's you felt like they were going to okay, let's see. They might finally start doing something, but nope.
Right away, whenever we can.
Yeah, that's we'd probably talk more about it if Matt were here, but it was a game. I'm not surprised that either team won. I'm also not surprised that it was an ugly win for whoever won.
Yeah. And I mean, I say the passing game was Terry and McLaurin. It seems like if Heineke can get the ball to him, they're in it. They're probably going to win. But as soon as they take away McLaurin,
Yep.
He just checks it down to McKissick and doesn't do a whole lot, but
Which is sad because McKissick's a great, running back, but he is not he is not the guy where he will carry your off. He's not a Kamara. He's not a McCaffrey, where he's just going to take over a game.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I suppose we should talk about this game. It's. I mean, I've been saying it for a while. I've been saying it since we haven't started this. They need to get rid of Zimmer. They need to get rid of Spielman. And frankly, get rid of Cousins.
You could have the perfect storm this season, though.
I would hope. But my fear is that I think
Cousins, keep Zimmer.
No, what I think happens is they might get rid of Zimmer, but I think they keep Cousins and they keep Spielman. And
I can see that.
Zimmer, while he's a big part of the problem, he's not the only problem. Because Zimmer's only been able to do what he's been able to do because of Spielman. And so it's similar with what McCarthy dealt with the Packers, and it's the head coach gets all the focus, but your GM can really make or break you, and I think he's really just
breaking it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when you don't have your head coach meeting eye to eye with your GM, because Zimmer wants to run first, but Spielman built this aerial attack offense.
But it's just so Spielman's great at scouting receivers, tight ends, and the D line. He's made a lot of solid hits there. O line, fucking abysmal. Running backs, he got Cook, but again, Cook has yet to play an entire season without missing at least one game. He's picked up bunch of linebackers who've been great, but either haven't lived up to potential or have been injury prone. And then his secondary, that's Harrison Smith. That's it. Everyone else either always getting hurt or just is gone after a few years, or they keep him way too long. Yeah, he's great at picking at certain personnel, but the places where he's not good, he is so awful that it almost counteracts. It's for every Justin Jefferson, you get a Matt Coyle. is really what it comes down to, and those are really bringing down all those Justin Jeffersons, and yeah.
Your Diggs, who outburst and leave.
Yeah. And so far, he's been proven right.
Yeah. And he's cleaned up his act. He's a good teammate, and even owned up to being a bad teammate with the Vikings. And
yeah.
It's kind of music what a stable organization will do.
If that doesn't tell you all you need to know about the state of the Vikings organization, I don't know what is. And if that doesn't get the Wills to go, hey, Zimmer's not the guy, and Spielman might even be the guy, but the very least one of those two has to go, I don't know what does. Yeah, it's how is it you've had a team that has arguably had the best wide receiver duo for 6 to 8 years? How are they not always the best passing attack every year? It makes no sense to me.
Because you run first.
Yeah.
Rather
than first, and then your super strong defense isn't a super strong defense. So I don't know if you noticed that, but I've talked about this before. Without fail, in big games, the announcers or someone will mention some stat the Vikings defense had just been top ranked in the league every year in the season. And when they bring that up, they will just totally get blown up in that area. And so this time it was third down defense. They were talking about how the Vikings have been the top third down defense. They were giving up almost 50 to 60% of the third downs to a second string QB. Yeah.
It's that announcer curse.
I think it's just the Vikings.
The Vikings curse.
Yeah. Because this is happening with so many stats.
Yeah. And to his credit, Cooper Rush played really well. I kind of expected him to do a lot worse.
Yeah.
Just based on his preseason play. I really did. But I mean, Amari Cooper showed up. CeeDee Lamb. I didn't even realize he had over 100 yards because he didn't have a touchdown. So, like, fantasy wise, he wasn't up there for me, but still did great.
Yeah, like, and that's the thing that gets me. It's the Cowboys did this in places the Vikings are supposed to be the strongest on defense, and that's what I think was really. It's like that is supposed to be Zimmer's bread and butter. He is the defense. He's a defensive first guy. Yet this continually happens. Yeah, it happens all the time, and it's their offense is always hamstrung because they got to be run first, and then their defense just never lives up to the hype they all get for being a Zimmer-led defense. They always crumble in the big games. So even when Prescott was hurt, I was like, I still don't. Yeah, that's the worst part. This is what I expected would happen, even with the second guy.
Even with the help of Prescott being out, you had Cousins' record in primetime working against you. Got Bradley Zimmer. So
yeah, it's just it sucks to see your team lose, but I'm happy for it just because I hope it means that they clean house like they've been needed to for at least a couple of years.
You're hitting that. I want change.
I hit that a few seasons ago when I realized, yes, like after the way they face planted after that, season with Keenum, I was like, yep, they're not going to do it because it's just been up and down, up and down. After that season and the next year in the playoffs for again losing like they did, you need a guy who at the very least by now he should have had back-to-back winning seasons for the teams he's had. The fact that they haven't even been able to pull that off.
Yeah. Issues. Speaking of issues.
The hangover is real, man. I don't know what else there is to say.
Yeah. I mean, how else do you put that Mahomes has 15 interceptions on the season?
Mm-hmm.
He had one in this game. Like, I think he's putting too much pressure on himself. He's not really just playing ball like he has been either. Because he even said, he's like, I need to play better. And it's like, you're putting too much pressure on yourself.
It's the bounces aren't going their way. Guys are dropping like catches that they made in their sleep last year. People are fumbling the ball. Like, Kelsey had that fumble. And it's other than Tyreek, he's really been the only guy who's still consistently making plays. Kelsey keeps getting shut down. Guys are getting hurt. All the other guys aren't really consistently being there. And I think that's what it comes down to. It's just other people aren't making plays when they normally have.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like a very underestimated aspect of Andy Reid's offense is the running back. Because Patrick Mahomes is such a big name and like he's done so well, but they've always had somewhat of a running game. And Darrell Williams isn't getting it done, and even before that, Clyde Edwards-Helaire was kind of entering a sophomore slump because he played out last season.
Yeah,
because they made a run and he took over the starting role, but he's not showing that same step.
Yeah,
it's the same thing I feel happened when Reid lost Westbrook and like McCoy.
Yeah,
he's kind of that transition of running back.
Well, I think what's also interesting is you can tell that it's like something is off with Mahomes himself, just because it's like on paper, statistically, their offensive line is doing a lot better. They have like I think it's like 2 or 3 guys who are ranked in the top 10 at their positions. Which, I mean, yes, you can take rankings for grain of salt, but still, it's like, considered last year they had like 3 guys in the bottom of the league. Their offensive line play has improved a lot. They're giving him time to make plays. He's just still running. He's still scrambling. He's trying to force a play.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he's just seeing ghosts from the Super Bowl or if it's just, he's just not where he's been the last few years. Something is going on.
That's fair. Because, I mean, that started in the Super Bowl where he was looking for that bigger play rather than taking the play that's in front of him that he can make. It's guaranteed. The guy's open. But he's, under that 10 yards. And that's fair because anytime their offense is clicking and moving, he's making those quick passes, going through the progression quickly, dumping it off to the open guy. But as soon as he holds that ball and tries to scramble and make that big play, that's when mistakes happen.
Yeah. Which, again, like in the past, they didn't, but ever since the Super Bowl, they have been. It's...
Yep.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how next year goes for him. Because it's pretty clear. It's like they weren't going to be the Chiefs we've known last few years.
Yep.
But I am curious to see if they recover. If it is one of those, like, okay, got another system, we're good now. Or if it's where they start falling apart.
Yeah. I mean, fans are apparently already pushing the, trade Mahomes.
Because fans are idiots.
The fans are. Their biggest grief is the turnover ratio, of course, and also basically everybody hates his brother.
Which I haven't even paid attention to any of that stuff. Why? Like, I remember there was something, but I just have not paid attention to why.
The big one happened when they played Washington, I think. He danced on the 21 that was roped off for the corner who died, years ago in a home invasion. And they retired his number and did a whole honoring thing where they put his number on the corner because he was a DB, I'm guessing, but roped it off, no one walk on it, and he climbed the rope and danced on it and did a TikTok. And he's just very disrespectful of other people.
Yeah, I can understand why people would be mad about that. That's fair.
Yeah. He's basically the stereotypical entitled brother of the star.
The rich James guy, yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. But still, it's like, I'm sorry, the Chiefs fans have just been spoiled. They really have. This is their right now worst case scenario. This will be the second time since Reed took over that they might finish under 10 wins. I'm sorry, it is not the time to panic. That is an amazing track record.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me the same with the Niners. You don't panic, but they just got to get things right.
Yeah.
Everyone always says the talent's there. It's yeah, but they have to be able to get mentally right, and execute's a big one.
Yeah,
saw that way too much.
Yeah, but it's also Reed has proven that he can put together a consistently strong team. He's been doing that since literally 2013. Since 2013, they have finished second or better and made the playoffs every year except for his second year where they were 9-7. Which is still a very solid season for a second-year coach. So
when he got fired from Philly, I was surprised he got fired from Philly because I'm like, oh, he'll turn it around. I didn't doubt that he could turn that around. But
that one still kind of made sense to me, just because he had done well and had a good track record. If you really compare, it's the latter half had been a lot more inconsistent. And so that's where it was one of those. It's the Schottenheimer thing where it's it was starting to look like, okay, this is about as far as you're taking us. And they gave him a good let's see what it's that's. Yeah, they gave him a good solid 12, 13 years, and after that point, you should have at least especially the second half, he should still be like made it with Super Bowl at least once more since the other time.
Yeah,
So,
but also he dealt with a decline McNabb and then moved from McNabb to Vic, and then it's done.
Yeah. I understand why they had the struggles, but I also get that it's the Schottenheimer thing where it's eventually that's going to happen. You either have to accept, do we want to keep on like almost making it, or do you just go, okay, nope, this isn't working, let's try something new. So I understood it. It sucks for him, and it is what it is. It's the NFL, though. He still had a great run.
Enough of the past.
Yes.
Time for the future.
Jets Colts
Thursday night. It's actually gonna be a good game.
That one I don't know, especially not after last week.
Yeah, like going like sometimes you look ahead and you're like, okay, these teams are playing. Don't care. I'm actually looking forward to this game.
Yeah, I'm curious because it's the Colts should win, but Thursday night game after last weekend.
Is Wentz the new Eli Manning?
No, because Eli Manning still won 2 Super Bowls.
That's fair. But I always made a point whenever the Niners played the Giants. I had a buddy who's a Giants fan. Even when the Giants pulled ahead, I always joked about how we still have a chance. Eli Manning's in the game.
That's fair.
Half the time when I'd say that, he'd throw a pick or something.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, honestly, you'd be able to say that about Wentz since they won that Super Bowl year. Because he's kind of been a liability every year since then. So, I got nothing against Wentz. I got nothing against the Colts. I got nothing against the Jets as long if White is starting.
It's a sit back and enjoy the game.
Yeah. Like, I kind of hope the Jets just go off again with White just because that further adds that whole, like, okay.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah, let's just go with him then. I have no idea with the Raiders Giants. I don't.
Yeah, I don't know who's going to win. Like you said, Colts should win.
Yeah.
But with the Jets playing how they did against the Bengals, you don't know.
Like, I'm actually looking, and the next 2 games just like this one out to me, where it's like, I honestly don't know. I know who should win.
Yeah.
But, because, like, again, the Raiders Giants, Raiders should win.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I would, like, automatically, I'm like, yeah, the Raiders are going to win. But I'm like, okay, you take into effect Ruggs getting arrested. Mm-hmm. That takes away their deep threat. So I think definitely Raiders if they sign, say, Deshaun Jackson.
Okay, I can see. Yeah,
but it's still like the Raiders should win, especially if the Giants are still down every single wide receiver.
Yeah, that's the thing. Really, if they don't get at least a couple of those guys back, then the Giants.
And Barkley's still down.
Honestly, like Booker's been filling in pretty well. Like I've been surprised by him. Like he's not blown people away, but he's still been a strong, solid running back. He's been making plays. Yeah, it's just like where I lean Raiders, but I don't fucking know. And then honestly, this one, it's like it should be the Saints, but after the injury to Hill, to Winston. Also, is Taysom back yet, or is Hill still hurt?
I don't know. Last I saw, he was questionable. So, still in the injury report, at least.
Yeah, so that's again, it's one of those. I don't know.
I'd still take the Saints, just because all that experience you have under Sean Payton, and I think you can make Simeon a winner. So, I would still take Saints over Falcons. But yeah, I see what you're saying. And also, without the Falcons not having Ridley, they're just covering Pitts, and no one else is getting open. Unless you're
Patterson. Yeah, Patterson is doing everything. Like, 19-point game, he still got me a decent amount of points. Like 15, I think it was.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my Pitts points suffered without Ridley.
Yeah, let's see. I mean,
Bills, Jags.
If the Bills don't run away with this, then I think that just further lends credence to the whole idea that no one's the clear favorite this year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The Bills should run off with it, especially how well their defense is playing. Against.
This should make dropping Carson for the Bills defense worth it. This is the game that should make it worth it.
Yes, it should.
If not, I'm going to be kind of mad that I'll miss out on all that.
At least 3 turnovers.
You know what would be the worst part is if Lawrence goes off and they just run over the Bills, because Lawrence was my second QB I drafted, and I just dropped him because I was like, yeah, even though I had Wilson and he got hurt, Lawrence still just wasn't doing enough for him to be consistently worth it, so I dropped him.
Yep.
So if all of a sudden he goes off against this great defense it picked up, I'm like, I'll be so mad.
But still, like, fantasy is a game of consistency and limiting risk, so it's like he's still a roller coaster, so he's still the right play.
Well, like even his best games have been like 22 points.
Yeah,
fantasy.
So that's like it's a little something for you, just to even if he does go off for say 30.
I think so. Browns Bengals. I think it comes down to how healthy are the Browns.
Yeah, how healthy are the Browns, and if the Bengals can bounce back?
I mean, I think they can, just because it's like every team has that one weird fluky game where you're like, how'd you lose to that team?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah,
but I still think the Bengals will bounce back.
Yeah. I'm curious by how much.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because if they want, like, just maybe they carried a chip on their shoulder from getting beat by the Jets,
That'd be fair of them.
Just decimate the Browns.
This one I'm actually intrigued about is the Patriots and Panthers, because the Panthers have gotten some pieces. Also, this I believe is going to be Gilmore's first real chance to play.
Ooh, that's true.
So
it'll be fun to watch,
especially the fact that it's not in Foxborough too. So that I think further makes it more interesting. Like if it was in Foxborough, I think the Patriots win, no matter who's playing. But that one I'm intrigued to see, especially if McCaffrey is able to make it back. I don't know how close he is.
I'm kind of curious because so far, like, the New England has had a fairly clean pocket for Mac, so I'm curious on the Panthers pass rush.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
They led the NFL with 14 sacks in September.
What's interesting, like, even though I dropped their defense was actually still like doing pretty well fantasy wise. Like they were giving up points, but they were still getting pressure and turnover and stuff. Like they were averaging like 7 or 8 points every week, which, like, even when they're giving up like 20 points, that's still pretty good to still get like 7 or 8 points from defense.
Sorry, buddy. And it seems like they're, according to ESPN, they're third with 53%, tied with the Browns at 53. Number one is the Eagles at 54 for pass rushing, blocking, run stopping. Yeah. So, I mean, they have a pass rush, so I think that's going to be the big piece.
Yeah.
Because if they can stop the run and then just get Jones, that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, that game, I'm actually really interested to see how that pans out. I mean, Broncos, Cowboys, the Cowboys should just, run away with it. I don't see how, if they lose to the Broncos, then I'm definitely going to be like, yeah, you need to get rid of everyone. Like, just clean house, guys. Come on, Vikings.
Maybe that's what you hope for. You hope the Broncos win. So then everyone just kind of stares at the Vikings like, what's wrong with you?
There's the dream. Lose a war, lose a battle but win the war. That's the goal.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
yep.
Vikings, Ravens. I'm not going to pick the Vikings beat the Ravens, especially on that showing.
Yeah, that's. I guess, yeah, that's fair. You guys did stop the run, but McCarthy never has a run game, so.
Yeah, they stopped the running back, but the Vikings aren't good at stopping mobile quarterbacks. Like, yes, they beat the Seahawks this year and disrupted Wilson, but the Seahawks this year are not the Seahawks of the past. So, honestly, like, unless Jackson's hurt, I think he's going to have a field day.
Fair. I am playing him, so I hope so. Texans, Dolphins.
Yeah. Texans.
Dolphins? Crapshoot.
Flip a coin and pick.
Both have pretty solid defenses as far as their opponent goes.
Yeah.
It's just going to come down to which offense can execute.
I feel like it should be the Dolphins just because the Dolphins at least put up a fight last week. Yeah. Whereas the Texans only got their points in garbage time. By garbage time, I mean the entire fourth quarter.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that one should be the Dolphins run away with it.
Yep.
This one, though, Chargers-Eagles.
Can the Chargers bounce back here, or can the Eagles keep the momentum?
It depends on which Chargers show up and which Eagles show up.
Probably my favorite sports meme this week I've seen was a Scooby-Doo meme of removing Herbert's face and it being Rivers underneath.
Fair. That's totally fair.
Yep.
Because, I will never be thrilled about what Herbert did to the Utes in that championship game. I have nothing against him.
I remember.
I have nothing against the guy. I would love to see him and the Chargers succeed. But, yeah, what is up with them this year? This is a pretty brutal sophomore slump.
Yeah. I don't know. The Chargers are almost like cursed due to the Spanos family, it feels like.
Yeah. It really does feel that way. Now this, I think, is good. Interesting rematch.
Yeah.
Because it's like, yeah, record-wise and stat-wise, you feel like the Packers should run away with this, but maybe the Chiefs will still go like, you know what, screw this, and win a game.
It'd be impressive. This would be the one that they need to get.
Yeah. Like, that's the thing. It's like, even if they're struggling, they're still so talented that no game, they're not an easy win just because of how talented they are.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's going to depend on if they can get that offense rolling. But
yeah, and if they can disrupt Rodgers enough.
Yeah, enough. Keyword.
Yeah. So this one, though.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
I imagine it depends on Hopkins' status. That's, I think, going to be probably one of the biggest deciding factors.
Yeah. Yes and no. Because even when they last played, like, it was a close game until basically the final quarter. And the biggest issue the Niners had was they didn't have their offense going. So if they can, again, carry momentum from the Bears game and keep that play calling up and have an offense.
So what's interesting, Hopkins isn't showing up on their injury report. Murray is questionable with an ankle injury. And let's see, they had to put a center on IR. Guard's questionable and a DT is questionable. But yeah, I don't see Hopkins listed. So that's actually kind of interesting.
I wonder... So he was a non-participant on Monday's estimated practice report with a hamstring injury. So, and those are tricky. Hopkins suffers from hamstring injuries. So he might play just limited snaps at that point.
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize Murray
I remember when he tweaked somewhere. Like I remember like seeing when it happened, and you could tell he was kind of limping, but it wasn't bad enough for him not play through.
He is day to day.
Okay, so I'm reading it, and even Hopkins set out 2 quarters, and then he did check back in again towards the end. I thought I remember seeing that, but he didn't really play very much.
I wonder if he played decoy though at that point.
Reading it just sounds like it was him originally. They wanted to keep him out, but he was so insistent. They're like, okay, let's try it, test it, because apparently it was he'd been battling a hamstring injury, and he just re-aggravated it in the game.
Yeah, this will be injury. This will be interesting. It'll be injuries, blood everywhere. Because Murray has an ankle sprain, so he's not going to be as mobile unless they, shoot him up, which they might. But I mean, they kept him in check last game, and the pass rush was getting to him last game, so. I don't know. It'll be close, and it hopefully is at least close. A good game, and the Niners can win.
Oh, so new headline: Ruggs was released by the Raiders. They dropped him.
That was coming.
Yeah, it's the right move because that really was
wet and dry.
Yeah, but still, good on them for just acting on that, not trying to do the whole let's play out. It's like, no, this one's pretty clear. Yeah. So the question is, how confident are you that you think you guys could have a shot at winning?
I think we have a shot. It just depends if we take the shot.
That's fair. Now, this game, I think, is really interesting because...
Titans-Rams.
Yeah. It was already an interesting matchup even before he got hurt. But now he got hurt, I'm really intrigued to see how this shakes out.
Yeah. So, their offense is rough without a run game because they're run-first offense. And, their defense has been showing up. So, it's going to be interesting to see how their defense plays against Stafford. Because it seems like they do have a good pass rush.
Yeah. But then also, it's the Rams still, they have a pretty good O-line. They have great offensive players, at all skill positions. And they still have a pretty beastly defense. So, this is, I think, one of the few, statement games potential we have where if the Titans can win this one, that's okay, they have solidified themselves as a contender.
Yep.
Because
Yeah, I'm with you on there. It would speak more of the Titans winning than with the Rams winning. Even if it was close, the Titans, contested the win. It'd say more about the Titans.
That kind of sucks for the Rams, too. It's if they had Henry their win, yeah, sure, that says something. But now that he's hurt, even if they win, then at this point it's almost expected. So it kind of sucked for the Rams. And now it's well, now we either win... And everyone goes, oh, yeah, you should have won. Or we lose and goes, how'd you guys lose to a Henry Titans?
You just got Von Miller.
Yeah, that's a shitty spot to be in. Yeah.
Monday night, Bears, Steelers.
Steelers, I guess? The Bears seem like a shit show, so Steelers.
I'd say initially, and I think they could get a silver lining out of this. So against the Niners, Fields did a lot of RPOs. He did also a lot of boots. So he got a lot of space to make plays. And that's because Nagy wasn't there, I feel. That was the first game where he had a lot of RPOs and a lot of boots, and Nagy was out on COVID. I think if Nagy comes back and they completely drop this game, the Steelers win, or if it's close but it's by Steeler mistakes, maybe Nagy truly is going to get kicked out.
Yeah,
that would be a silver lining if they lose. Otherwise, I would hope that Nagy would take a cue of play caller from last week and get Fields that space he needs to make plays. And if he does that, the Bears, I think, could win.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is one of those, like, the dude's had his shots. Yeah, he had that 2018 season, but at this point, like...
The moment he got Coach of the Year, he got an ego, and everything's been downhill.
Yeah. 8-8, 8-8. Honestly, and even if he comes back and they lose, even a close one, I could still see them firing him. Just because at that point, you're 3-6. Your rookie quarterback has not looked great. And the best he looked was when you weren't around.
Yeah. And the assistant head coach, who's their special teams coordinator, he was fired up. Like, he gave them a bit of a spark on the sideline. Like, he's very decisive. You know, they went for it on 4th down, and he got that touchdown. It's like he could step up and be their next head coach. So it's not like they'd be like, oh, who do we replace him with? Well, you have a guy in-house that you can feel out the rest of the season.
Yeah. Like, I still think the Steelers are going to run away with it because, again, Bears are a shit show, I think.
Yeah, the defense is too porous, and they always have weapons, so.
Yeah. We did it.
We done
Ran
did
a little
it.
long, but we did it.
Right.
I mean, to be fair, there was a few big headlines on top of everything.
Yeah, that's true.
But I feel like we're going to finally start seeing the things solidify in the next 2 weeks. Just by innate virtue of you have some teams that are doing so well versus others.
Yeah, I feel like we keep saying that, and it's like something happens. The Jets win.
That's fair. You know what? That's fair, and I can't really argue that point because. but it's still like, I mean, it really is just the division leaders seem to have such insurmountable leads compared to the direction the other teams are going in their division. It just really seems hard. Like, other than a couple of teams, I don't see how the other teams could catch them just because they. Yeah.
You have to literally drop it.
Yeah. They have to go on a tear, and this team that's been really consistent has to suddenly drop the ball. But we'll see.
Yeah. Everyone else keeps fighting. Well, let's go hit the waiver wires.
Yeah, I gotta check some because I really need to build up some of my depth at running back.
Don't we all?
Well, considering like right now, my RB2 is either Moss or Freeman.
That's fake.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Jeez. That was the last thing I was doing was checking waivers here. Let's see. Who do I have? I got Chubb, who did nothing last week. The legend, who saved me. Robinson, who's questionable and did nothing. Chuba Hubbard, who McCaffrey's back, so who knows?
Yeah,
and AJ Dillon.
I'm in a weird spot. I haven't realized I need a quarterback. Interesting. Let's see. Who am I playing? Ooh, I play Katie Ann. Let's see.
My quarterback this week is either Justin Fields or I'm hitting the waivers.
I gotta hit the waivers.
Yep. That's our message for the week.
Yep,
Hit the waivers.
Yep, hit the waivers. Hit the waivers. On that note, hit the waivers. But remember, now this is podcast racing.
This is
podcast racing.
Race to those waivers.
We need to get Tannis to make that as a big banner for you. Now this is podcast racing. I can just have Deebo Samuel doing like a deep route.
That or his bike riding celebration.
That'd work too. That'd be apropos.
Anyway.
All right. Yeah. On that note,
get out of here.